Welcome to Palm Paradise. I'm Christiana Lilly.
I'm Olivia Holaus.
I'm Portia Smith-Dejean.
And we are the Palm Queens. You guys are always giggling about something, and I never know what it's about.
I realized that we didn't plan our sequence this time around, so there was a bit of a pause.
No, it's okay.
I just went for it.
I appreciate that. It might have been on me.
Are we doing it again, or are we just rolling with this?
No, I think let's roll with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still going to roll with it because, my God, it's nonstop. I feel like every time I'm coming here, it's to announce that we have a new magazine.
Yeah.
New Boca magazine. March is here, and we have our cover story, which is independent bookstores in Florida.
Oh, I love
We
that.
have independent bookstores. Everybody, it's not just Barnes & Noble. I love Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
But we have, so our arts editor, as well as he's also our managing editor, John Thomason, went and wrote about all these different independent bookstores. And we have the owner of Rohi's Readery on our cover, which I love this cover. It's just so fun and vibrant.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about? Oh my God. You know, you work on these so far in advance.
Oh, yeah. But,
what are you doing right now? Christmas?
Yeah, I think you
Summer.
should mention that, whether it's in this episode or not. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand how much time and energy goes into the issues that you guys are, working on in advance. That's like meticulous planning.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Portia. Yeah, so for example, we started working on this story. It's called Saving the Florida Panther because March is also Florida Panther Day. Mm-hmm. And in March, there's Florida Panther Day. And so we did an interview with Margot McKnight. I went out there in October. I interviewed her.
At the zoo.
At the zoo, at the Palm Beach Zoo. Margot McKnight, she's executive director there. She's so cool. Like, I was like, I want to be you, Margot. And so we did her photos and we did her interview back in October.
Wow.
And that's how far in advance, you have to also take into account, what their schedules are, what our schedules are. And then the holidays are just crazy. So it's madness.
You must have like a matrix, like your binders.
We literally call them
the
matrices.
cast. Do you?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And so it's like, can you pull up the April matrix, please?
Wow.
We got it,
It's very
Olivia.
complex.
Yeah. And then one I've gotten a lot of feedback on, Tyler Childress, our web editor, loves food. And he found 30 places in Boca Raton to go for lunch.
I need that. I need to bookmark that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all these area restaurants. And a comment that I got from somebody was that they liked that it was all the tiny hole in the wall places as well as the big spots.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of places that aren't open for lunch or they're only open for dinner. And, so he has it all.
And I feel like I always go to the same places when I do go out
Las
to lunch.
Fajitas.
Well, we know we love but love the Tin Muffin, or Mariposa and Neiman Marcus. But I feel sometimes you want to try something new and you just can't always think right on the spot. So this is going to be
exactly.
What's your go-to lunch spot in Boca?
Tin Muffin.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head now. I'm so bad. I just go to Chipotle and stuff. So I need to go through here because I feel like I don't go out and sit for lunch. I just go and grab something and bring it back to the office.
I usually sit at my desk and have my
Same.
salad. I mean, I actually am not a lunch person because I think it breaks up your whole day. So I do try and avoid lunches. I'm sorry, friends. But yeah.
I love Rocksteady. They're on Federal.
Yeah.
I love Rocksteady.
Oh, I've not been there.
It's not too far from here.
Okay.
We'll go one time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of Las
Jamaican. It's like a
Fajitas.
Jamaican-American fusion. So it's not your traditional Jamaican dishes, but it gives you. It's a good. You'll like it.
Okay. All right.
You'll
Good.
We'll go there.
All right. Well, talking about the issue, we have John Thomason on, and he's going to be joining us and talking all about his cover story. So stay tuned. All right, our schedules finally aligned that we're able to have our managing editor and our arts and entertainment editor, John Thomason, here for Palm Paradise. Welcome, John, or as we call you sometimes, JT.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
So let's just jump right into it. You have, again, the cover story for the March issue of Boca Magazine. And I know this was something we had talked about before that you really wanted to highlight local bookstores. What prompted that? I mean, I know I'm a book fan, but what was something that interested you, particularly independent?
Yes, and in fact, I do have to give you credit, Christiana. You actually came up with this story, and as soon as I saw it on our list of stories, I jumped at it. I was the one who wanted to write this one. Originally, it was because I really wanted to spotlight my favorite bookstore in the Tri-County area, which is Big Apple Books in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
If you haven't been to this place, it just like its name says, it's sort of like a classic New York-style bookstore that you used to find in the city, probably back in the 80s and 90s. The prices haven't changed since the 80s and 90s. That's the great thing about if you're living on a budget and you want to buy a great book. Soft paperbacks are $2, trade paperbacks are $4, and hardcovers are $4. Every book in the store. So regardless of how much it's worth, he also sells records. He's incredibly knowledgeable about books and music. The owner, Robert Fava, so he's great to talk to. He always has great jazz music playing, and it's so easy to get lost in this store. He buys inventory from walk-in customers who sell their book collections every day, so there's a constantly changing inventory. He ran out of space a long time ago, so all the new books just go in boxes on the floor, so it's kind of fun to dig through and look for.
So really, we're doing him a favor by going and buying books and adding to our own bookshelves.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm all about it.
So that was kind of the initial impetus. But what was great about this story is that I learned so much about the state of bookstores today that I didn't know going into it. I had a lot of my expectations upended, which is something you love as a reporter, to learn something new and to be surprised. So, for instance, I went to the Old Florida Bookshop in Dania Beach. Yes, it's completely unassuming from the outside. You wouldn't know that there's this incredible bookstore that focuses, I think, mostly on kind of rare books and classics. That's definitely the vibe. Classical music playing when you go in. There's antiques there that you wouldn't expect in a bookstore, such as like a megalodon tooth and like a bear's paw discovered in the Ural Mountains, and models of ships and so forth. But what I sort of discovered there, and I visited on, I think it was near closing, maybe 5 o'clock on a Sunday, and the place was absolutely packed. I expected to find an old bookstore like that to be maybe struggling financially. Maybe the demographic is grayer than I am. In fact, it was mostly young people. It was a lot of people of color, and it was mostly women. Nice. And when I interviewed the owner, he said that is the demographic for book buying these days.
Oh,
yeah,
so cool.
Very interesting that you'd think that, the younger people would just be fine looking at everything on their phone or listening to it. No, there's a comeback in this country for physical media, and that includes books as well.
When I went there, because I told him, my colleague John Thomason interviewed you, and he was really excited to be in the magazine. And I talked to him about that, about how he's seeing more younger women coming in there. And my friend and I actually found a book on witchcraft in there. He's got everything. It was like a Spanish book on witchcraft. And so he was saying, I'm having to order more like Bronte sisters and, Jane Austen and all of the classics, Emily Dickinson, because that's what people are wanting to read now. They want to read more women writers and obviously more contemporary writers. But I really thought that was interesting. And I ended up talking to him about that because of your reporting. That's right.
And so that ended up being kind of half of my story. We're on these classic bookshops that have been here for 10 years or more. Then you get into the second half of the article, and you get into some shops that have only opened within the past 2 years. So there's a place called Steamy Lit in Deerfield Beach, which has actually been written about in the New Yorker before we covered it here in Boca Magazine, believe it or not. That's how I discovered it. But it's a romance bookstore for the 21st century. Okay, these are not the romance novels of your mom or your grandma, or those covers you might have seen from the 80s of like
Fabio's novels.
Right.
The dresses.
Right. And it's not about sort of damsels in distress narratives anymore. It's about female characters that have, complete agency and are sort of happy with their lives, but they may have this one area of romance that is lacking. And it's, again, very progressive bookstore. There's sections on LGBTQ romance. There's a section on, Black and Hispanic romances. There's a section on kink, the unabashed, that kind of stuff.
It is a romance store.
Yes. Romantasy, of course, a very popular genre right now. So they are doing very well catering to a niche readership of people that really care about books and that are not serviced by the kind of books that you'd find in, say, your big chains, your Barnes & Noble. I guess that's the only chains left, Barnes & Noble. And then the other store that we went to, of course, which gave us our cover model for the March issue, Rohi's Readery, has been in 2 locations prior to this one, just moved into the historic Northwest neighborhood in West Palm Beach, hopefully as their new permanent location. It is a place of activism as well as book selling, but they too cater again to that kind of niche audience of young readers, particularly, I'd say, college and younger, all the way back to first-time readers.
Because there's a lot of parents that come in there and they have like lots of picture books. Like the cover, the book she's covering and that she's holding on the cover is "I Love My Spots." And somebody asked me, what is that? I'm like, well, it's a book about vitiligo because people with darker skin tones, and so there's all these like different topics that you wouldn't think. But if you're a kid with vitiligo, that might be really cool to see that in there.
Absolutely. What I loved about what you just mentioned, JT, is the fact that you have your traditional brick and mortar, but then you had your newer bookstores too. I've been seeing a lot of transitions with bookstores that are now doing kind of the subscription model where you get like depending on what you're interested in, you kind of get that particular
like book of the month.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, Steamy Lit does one of those as well.
Yeah, and you know who opened up a bookstore as well? Cherie Brown, who used to work at Boca Magazine. She does Jay's House, and they don't have a brick and mortar, but however, they do that. They have that business model where they do the book of the month, and it's kind of more customizable. And I love how everything that you're saying, I personally would have thought like, oh, okay, when I think bookstore, I think community, I think like coffee shop, stuff like that. But I would have not thought that the younger generation was so interested in that. That's so cool.
Yes, they are. And there are more bookstores I could have written about. I didn't really go down into Miami, but of course, Books and Books is a very famous Miami chain. And if ever there is a big name author who is coming through town and doing a signing, chances are it's at Books and Books. The flagship is in Coral Gables, but they have other locations throughout Dade County as well. And in the article, I did touch briefly on the island of Palm Beach because
so many there.
Such a small island, and there's 3 bookstores on the island of Palm Beach, including the only antiquarian bookstore, which is mega rare pieces, inscribed first editions, imported first editions, by Amelia Earhart, autographed. Okay. Before she went missing, let's say. Yeah, so some incredible stuff there. And then the other 2 stores on the island are kind of family-owned, mom and pop, catering to the residents and visitors of the island. So you're going to get things like coffee table books on charcuterie that you might not see again at Barnes & Noble or some of these other stores.
And I think you were referencing that's Raptus Rare Books, right?
Raptus Rare Books is the antiquarian bookstore. It is well worth checking out. I mean,
it's like in a little, like the villa that it's in is so like a little nook too, which just works perfectly for a bookstore.
Yes, I think the owners also run a cigar bar in that.
I want to say it's Churchill.
Cigars, yes. Yeah, so interesting. You don't have to have a ton of money to shop there, but there are pieces in the tens of thousands of dollars that are carried. But there are also some newer inscribed books if you want to add that to your collection for, say, under $200.
Okay.
That's so cool.
So you're not only our managing editor, you're our arts and entertainment editor. And some people might not know this, but you and I go way back. We worked together at the Sun Sentinel at Forum Publishing Group back in the day. And you were the A&E writer back then too. Now, a lot of people, especially interns that I want to be a music writer. I want to write about concerts, but obviously, it's more to that because you can't just focus on just music you like or just arts that you like. Talk to me about that, about trying to educate yourself about different genres when you're a reporter in that beat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you certainly have to. If there's a major event coming to town, it needs to be at least in our calendar. I need to brush up on my knowledge of classical music or country music, and those are 2 genres I don't listen to at all. I've gotten into jazz extensively over the past 5 years.
I've noticed.
And that has certainly helped in my coverage. I also think that the fact that I have been sort of building this record collection that is, I don't know, inching toward 3,000 probably by this time.
Wow.
You got to have a pretty eclectic taste in music to even get to 3,000 records. If you're focusing on one genre, you're going to be pretty limited after a while. So yeah, I absolutely love always learning about new forms of art, new types of visual art that I wasn't really aware of. I like to keep up with everything that's happening at the Norton or the Boca Raton Museum of Art, our local theaters, whether it's sort of frothy musicals at the Wick or more hard-hitting dramas at Palm Beach Drama Works or Theater Lab.
I know you also do movie reviews, and the Oscars kind of have already came and gone, but what was your thoughts on the takeaway winners?
Yeah, so I didn't watch it, but I was very happy that Anora won Best Picture because of all the nominees for Best Picture, it was my second favorite one on the list. I really thought Nickel Boys should have won, and it was by far the most underrated movie.
I've read it, but I haven't seen the movie, so that's what I want to...
Oh,
Speaking of books.
Extremely powerful, extremely individualistic filmmaking. The whole concept of the Nickel Boys adaptation is that it's told from characters' point of view. So we see the entire movie through the eyes of the two main protagonists. And so we're really immersed in their world in a really unique way that's only been done successfully a couple other times in the whole history of cinema. So that would have been my pick for Best Picture, but Anora is certainly a powerful and funny and very meaningful movie with great direction, a great script, a phenomenal performance by Mikey Madison. I was glad that she won Best Actress, which may be one of the only upsets of the night. Demi Moore was the favorite, and she was also wonderful in The Substance. So overall, I love griping about the Oscars because most of my favorite movies from the last year were not even were nowhere in consideration. There was a French film called The Beast that was set in sort of 3 different periods of time and follows characters through 3 different lifetimes. That was really brilliant and innovative. And A Real Pain, which actually did win Best Supporting Actor for Kieran Culkin, was a great movie about 2 cousins who go on a sort of a Holocaust remembrance trip to Poland to also visit where their grandmother came from. But there's a lot of conflict between the two of them, but a lot of love between the two of them also, written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg, which is a phenomenal movie. It's available on streaming now. If you can see it, should have won a lot more than just Best Supporting Actor, in my opinion.
And a couple times a year, you also do, things that are streaming now that you need to catch up on. So it's not just like we're talking about, like, it's not just like traditional theater, not just traditional media. It's also these streaming platforms that are maybe even having a little bit more flexibility to do what they want because they're not having to rely on, movie like box office numbers.
Yes, that is, streaming is, whether someone who loves movie theaters like me likes it or not, streaming is how most people see movies these days. So during the pandemic, when all the theaters closed, I started this column on Boca magazine called Stream These, where I focus on the key movies that are opening on the major streaming platforms. So Netflix, Hulu, Max, Paramount, and occasionally some of the other ones like Apple TV if they get a really nice exclusive. So that's one thing to look for. Usually at the beginning of almost every month, I run this column on bocamag.com.
You're such an intellect. Do you ever just veg out and watch trash TV?
I can't say I do.
Or maybe what you would consider trash TV.
The closest thing would be Mystery Science Theater 3000 or Riff Tracks, which take a lot of really bad movies and have people like me making snarky comments about them throughout the film, and that has me laugh. It has me in tears really every single time I watch one of those.
If you're reporting, you give things a chance because you can't say you don't like something if you never listened to it. Like I know we were kind of joking around with the Taylor Swift album, and you're like, I just don't get it. But you actually listened to it.
Of course, I tried to watch her movie. I
tried to watch it.
True, I didn't finish it, but the hour and a half that I watched, I thought
that's a good sport. Yeah,
the stagecraft was extraordinary.
Yeah,
I don't get why the music is so popular, but I'm also a 42-year-old man, so that probably tracks.
Yeah. So, but I just love that you do give it a chance, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Instead of just I just don't like it. Why? I don't know. I just don't like it. You can actually say, this is why I don't like it, or this is why it's not for me,
You have to. You need to have an informed opinion why you don't like it.
Exactly.
And sometimes it can be as fun to trash something as it is to praise it.
I remember there was one time when the Jurassic Park movie came out, and then Marie was like, I love Jurassic Park. I love dinosaurs coming out of the ocean and eating people. So then you guys did a pro and con on, she sang its praises and you trashed it. And we might have to do that more often.
Yeah.
You should.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because I think even when it was maybe was it Marvel, the Avengers? I think you didn't like the Avengers? Or you didn't watch it?
Or when Black Panther came out.
Something like
so
that.
So many things to watch too, though.
Oh, that would be good.
Okay, yeah, you can put me in front of a Marvel movie. We'll see what happens. It's been a while since I've rode that horse.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some things that you're looking forward to in the theater, arts, and world for South Florida?
Well, I think this is a great period for concerts. And I sort of singled out a few eclectic ones that are coming up toward the end of March. People sometimes think summer is the best time for tours. Maybe it is in other parts of the country. Here in South Florida, end of winter, beginning of spring really is peak concert season. this is when I think most artists want to come to Florida, because this is when the weather is at its absolute best. So starting sort of at the end of March, there's a couple of great shows down at the Adrian Arsh Center of Miami, if you don't mind making the schlep down there. March
You can take the Bright Line
I
now.
was just gonna say that.
exactly, perfect, from Meisner to Miami. So there's one, Kraftwerk is one of the great bands of the German krautrock movement, really peaked in the late 70s, early 80s, big time pioneers of electronic music. And they are playing March 20th at the Arsh Center. The last time I saw Kraftwerk, they gave everybody 3D glasses, and they had 3D projected visuals that catered to every song that they
Oh,
played.
wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Really immersive experience. Really, really great to sort of trip out to. So that's March 20th. And then the very next day is Jason Moran, who, again, tying in with the magazine, is one of the leading lights of jazz piano. I interviewed him for the March issue of Boca magazine, so you could learn more there.
So cool. That was a great interview.
yes.
I'm really glad we did that. Yeah.
Yes, great. So he's only 50, but he's playing the music of one of the all-time greats of jazz piano, Duke Ellington, the one who sort of pioneered the form, really, of big band jazz. And so he'll be doing his unique interpretations of Ellington songs and appreciation of Ellington's 125th birthday, along with the Frost School of Music at Miami and his wife, Alicia Hall Moran, singing. So that should be quite an evening on March 21st. It's not often that South Florida gets jazz musicians of Jason Moran's caliber.
Go us.
Yes. And then about at the end of the month, I want to say it's around the 28th or 29th, there's 2 nights in a row of the Violent Femmes at Pompano Beach Amphitheater. These are one of the icon. Blister in the Sun was their big hit.
That's what I associate them with, is Blister in the Sun.
So one of the iconic early kind of college rock alternative bands, originally an acoustic 3-piece. They've since added more dynamic instrumentation, but they are doing their first 2 albums straight through live on this 40th and 40th anniversary tour of those albums. One of the shows is sold out. I believe there are some tickets, hopefully, by the time you hear this, for the second show that has been added.
And if you didn't, it's because you didn't pick up Boca magazine and read
you should've.
JT's top 5s and his calendar.
Precisely,
Yeah.
it's in there.
What are some of your top interviews that you've done with musicians and performers that just come to mind for you?
So one of my favorites was with James Cromwell, who was a legendary actor who was starred in the movie Babe. He was the farmer in Babe. That's what he's most famous for. He was also in 6 Feet Under, one of my favorite television series on HBO.
I'm actually watching it for the first time now, 6 Feet Under, and it's been great. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
I've been kind of going back to shows that are like, why didn't I watch it? Time to watch it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Such a treat. So you're in for a treat. He's in
Yes.
the last couple of seasons.
Okay.
As Ruth's love interest.
Yeah.
And so, I don't remember what I was viewing him for, but it was the kind of interview where we started talking and I was able to sort of throw out my questions, my prepared questions, about a minute into the interview. And it was just talking kind of like we are now.
Yeah.
It was just the best kind of an interview, and an extremely nice and gracious guy, and answered all my questions. So that would be a favorite. I've interviewed a lot of people.
I know.
I mean,
you've interviewed Priscilla Presley recently, and you've interviewed a lot of artists and musicians that come through.
Have you ever gotten starstruck, like in the interview? Like, man, I can't believe I'm going to interview said person.
I have. I've gotten starstruck with the late, great Norm Macdonald, who is my favorite comedian of all time.
He was great.
So that was. I'm glad it was only over the phone, so he couldn't see how much flop sweat was coming out of my armpits. That was a good one. Bill Maher. I was pretty starstruck talking to him on the phone. My favorite musician, John Darnielle of the band The Mountain Goats, on one of the rare times they've come to South Florida, getting to speak to him.
And now
in
you
advance.
recently reached a milestone with your Mountain Goats viewing concerts, if you'd like to share that.
Yes, I saw them for the 25th time in 2024. Yes. Of course.
Over the years,
fan.
we've been watching it.
I'm such a nerd that I do keep track of these things.
Date,
it.
location, everything. But you know what? It's good. That's good.
So is the 25th the same as like the 3rd time you've seen them?
It is. I'm just like a excited little kid every time, and I want to get as close to the stage as I possibly can.
Yeah, I love that.
Good for you. Well, I cut you off. Was there any other interviews that you wanted to mention of interesting people that you've spoken to?
Lily Tomlin. I
Okay.
don't think she's with us anymore either. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lily
Sorry, Lily.
Lily Tomlin fans, but that was a good one. Martin Short.
I love Martin Short.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, he was here in Boca for I think it was a Go Pink luncheon many years ago.
Oh, I love him.
Kathy Griffin.
What is it? Murders in the Building?
The Only Murders in the Building. Him and
Yes.
Steve Martin are great together.
Yes. So off the top of my head, those are some of my favorites. I can tell you about the worst interview experience that I've had. It was not.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You know what? Let's do it.
It was not with Boca magazine.
Okay.
But, it was a director named Ken Russell, who's from he made a lot of sort of edgy, sexually charged movies back in the 1980s in the United Kingdom. And I was interviewing him about one of those movies being re-released on home video. And the connection was to the UK, and there were some connection issues trying to get this guy on the line. So I was about 10, 15 minutes late in starting the conversation. And whether it was about that or about something else, he was extremely bitter about it. And the entire interview was him giving one-word answers to absolutely everything. Everything that I asked.
He just decided he was not going to engage. Wow.
He checked out. The other tough one I had, though I certainly don't blame the person, is Brian Wilson, the legendary front person of the Beach Boys.
Right.
And he also answered mostly in one-word answers as well.
Well, that was when I remember you were so starstruck that you were going to get to interview him. You went upstairs and he came down and he was just like, that didn't go well. And
it was
my dreams are dashed.
Yes, a surreal opportunity to even be offered someone like that who, I mean, Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys album, is what I've long said is the best pop record in American music history. So starstruck for sure. But, he's had some, some mental issues and, he doesn't give interviews the way that he used to. And it's just the way that it is. I didn't really have enough for a story, but I can scratch that one off the list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I know we actually have a lot of stuff coming up in the April issue, but we just started with February.
Yeah.
I mean, with March. Oh my God. And more to come for the rest of the year. So thank you so much, John, for joining us. And make sure you go on bocamag.com as well as the magazine to read all of his reviews and calendar items and interviews. You can't miss it.
It's my pleasure.
Right,
thank you very much for having me.
I always love when John Thomason is around because he makes me smarter. He makes me a better person.
Yes.
And
you learn so much.
He's just so uber talented. I mean, doesn't he write, I don't know,
like everything.
a gazillion articles a day?
And he's like a Scrabble champion and everything.
He's a Scrabble champion?
I don't know if he officially is, but
I could see it.
he is. I know. But anyway, before we go, we had so much fun with the last giveaway that we did with our friends at 388.
Oh my gosh.
So many people entered. I know I was like, Olivia, pick somebody. She's like, what?
I know.
There was a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
And it was random. Purely random.
Absolutely random. And so we thought we should do another one. And since it's springtime, we have this gorgeous box of goodies from Lush. They sent us all of this stuff. So we have, oh my God, we have a bath bomb. We have solid perfume. There's body wash. There's shampoo bars. There's perfume, a shower gel.
Oh, yeah. I got to create another Finsta because you guys didn't pick me last time. So.
Okay. So go on to our Instagram for Palm Paradise and Boca Magazine, where we will have all the rules for how you can enter this. Remember, you have to be local because you will be coming by a content studio to pick it up.
Yes.
So, head over to Instagram and follow both of us on Boca Magazine and
Palm Paradise.
Palm Paradise. My words, it's been a day. And then obviously Palm Paradise is also on TikTok. Make sure you follow us on all the things.
Yeah.
And Palm Paradise, powered by Boca Magazine. We are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms as well as on YouTube.
Yep.
So hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Is that what the kids say, I think?
Yeah, yeah.
We're everywhere.
Hit that button.
I would never know where to point.
Actually, quick story though. I went to one of those like trampoline places with the kids, and like the lady who checked us in, she looked at me. She's like, "You look familiar. What do you do for work?" And I'm like, "What do I do for work? Let's see." She goes, "No, you look like you're a news anchor." And I'm like, "Oh, it must be the short hair, you know." She goes, "No, are you a news anchor?" I said, "No," but I said, I co-host a podcast. I'm like, "Do you know it?" Anyway, but right then and there, she's like, "I am going to listen and I'm going to subscribe." And right there, she subscribed. So anyway, and she was, young in her 20s. So
Well, I hope she also enters our Lush giveaway.
Yeah.
I know. I hope she's listening.
I know. All right, well, this is Palm Paradise. We will see you guys next time. Bye.